dancing and nursing a part. We know every part by heart. Overture, curtain lights, this is it. We'll hit the heights, and oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it.
Hey, we're back. I'm Goose.
I'm Logan.
This is On With The Show, and today we're going to do something we've done before, which is
Pretty
today's
much
show.
talk exclusively about Disney.
Disney's had quite a week.
Yeah, regarding earnings for Disney Plus, laying off 7,000 employees.
Some of it, a lot. The rumor is much of it's coming from their entertainment side, and we're going to talk about that because they've got problems.
Yeah.
They've got problems, and today's show is pretty much going to be almost exclusively talked about Disney because Disney's having a rough week. So let's get into the first topic. And again, a couple of days ago, Bob Iger had the earnings call
For quarter one.
And it was a mixed bag. Basically, what they're reporting is that the parks are doing well, so everything there is fine. They say ESPN is doing well, so they're not worried about that. But Disney Entertainment
is kind of drowning.
Yeah.
So that's the movies, Disney Plus, Disney Channel.
It's basically they're having issues over there, and it's not surprising they're having issues over there. I got a chance to see a really good video from my good friend Chris Provost from Provost Park Pass, who basically kind of broke this down, and he said that he broke it into three parts: the Disney parks, ESPN, and the Disney Entertainment. And Disney Entertainment also includes, of all things, Marvel and Star Wars and Pixar and all that other fun stuff that that they've put into that category. And so, they say the parks are doing well. People are going back to the parks. ESPN, is its own entity. It's doing really well. But man, the Disney Entertainment has been having
a rough time.
So let's kind of break this down. And we're going to, let's start with, let's go back a little bit because we're doing a little bit of history. So let's go back to Lightyear, where I think it pretty much kind of almost started. And I watched Lightyear. Have you had a chance to see Lightyear?
Not yet.
And someone told me that it was actually a pretty good film. I was actually looking forward to seeing it. I did not get a chance to see it in theaters, but when it came out on Disney Plus, I'm like, I got to see this film, and I liked it.
Really?
I did. I liked it. I gave it a solid 85 out of 100. I thought the story was well done. I thought it was a nice origin story to Buzz Lightyear, and it was really very, very entertaining. The issue was with Lightyear wasn't with the same-sex kiss that everybody was making a big deal about. Because I don't really care about, I've never really cared about the same-sex kiss that was in Lightyear that lasted all of about 3 seconds. My issue with Lightyear is it was really poorly marketed.
Because it left a lot of people thought it was going to be about the toy, and so there was a lot of like, why don't you have Tim Allen? And then they were like, no, this is about the man behind the toy. This is the real Buzz Lightyear the toy was based on. And it's like,
which made no sense.
And it's like, you brought in Captain America, Chris Evans, to voice the real Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
So,
and then
the marketing has just left everybody confused. Like, what is this movie about?
What is this movie about? And that was it. You saw the trailer, and you're like, okay, what's this movie about? I don't get it. I don't understand it. And it was always, well, this is the origin story of the man behind the toy. Well, truthfully, if you watch Toy Story, there was no man behind the toy. It was the toy. Okay, well, and it's an origin story of Buzz Lightyear. Okay, we still don't get it. We don't understand, and they left. The thing about a trailer, it wants to give you just enough of
To
a
make
story.
you want to go see it.
Yeah, but not enough of the story to go, oh, I know all about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That was its huge flaw. It gave us nothing about the movie. And truthfully, if I was in charge of marketing, I would have just basically have said, this is an origin story of Buzz Lightyear.
Mm-hmm.
And left it at that. I would not have sat there and tried to explain it. In the first, like, I guess maybe 30 seconds, it gives a little synopsis that Andy, as a kid, Andy went to see this movie and he loved it so much that he wanted the toy based on the character.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how are you going to explain that in the trailer? You can't. So you basically, and my thought process is, well, we all know who Superman is. We all know who Batman is. We all know who Spider-Man is. We all know that they came from the comics. Why not just like sit there and say, this is a movie based on Buzz Lightyear, and leave it at that?
Instead of leaving everybody confused about what it's really about, when you're like, no, Buzz Lightyear was a real astronaut.
Yeah.
And then he was so popular, they made a toy based on him.
Yeah. Let's fast forward to Thanksgiving weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then
had Strange World.
Strange World.
Which also did not meet expectations.
Did not meet expectations at all. As a matter of fact, it's considered probably the worst film that Disney has put out for a holiday. And again, someone told me they saw it. They said it was really good. It was a lot better than they thought it was. And I was like, okay, well, it's on Disney Plus also, the big benefit of having Disney Plus. And I sat back and I watched it and I went, yeah, this movie's really entertaining. It has elements of Jules Verne, A Journey to the Center of the Earth. It has some environmental themes wrapped around it. It's one of these films that once you watch it, you're like, oh, this movie's actually pretty good. I gave it an 83 out of 100. I thought it was solid. It's the only, again, the two issues with Strange World. One is that it's not a spectacular film. It's not one that you would expect to have coming out during that season. And matter of fact, if I was running Disney, I would have had Strange World and Lightyear flip. I would have had Strange World come out in the summer and Lightyear come out during the holiday season.
And another interesting thing about why I think Strange World and Lightyear are so similar is that their failure was blamed on, there was a same-sex couple, an interracial couple, or like a disabled dog, or whatever it was. But in reality, the reason it failed was not because of any homophobia or anything like that. It was because the marketing
was horrible.
Did not do its job.
It was horrible. I have watched that trailer 3 times, and every time I watch that trailer, I have no idea what the movie is. I have no clue what the movie is.
So it's like, with a trailer like that, you've only got one type of person who's going to go see your movie, and that's a person who goes and sees every Disney movie.
Yeah.
It's not a trailer that catches the non-Disney fan's eye, that piques the average moviegoer's interest.
And it's a shame, because Strange World was actually pretty good. Again, the idea, and I actually think somebody in the when they were pitching this movie was like, hey, let's do a movie based on like Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth, but let's make it let's make it like on a separate planet, and let's have different people and have this family that's where the one dad is a famous explorer, but he has a son that's more like a botanist, and then he has another son that's kind of like wants to carve his own little path, and it's like, and I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting, that sounds good, but the trailer doesn't put any of those elements in there. It makes you, it's like, your dad was a famous explorer. Well, I'm not my dad. Well, it's like, well, we need your help you're all we have to be able to save the planet. And it's like, and I'm like, and then of course all the stuff that came out, which was like, that people made fun of, which was like checking off the woke boxes, was like interracial couple, Same-sex couple.
Disability.
Even
characters.
the dog was
handicapped.
Was handicapped. It's like we're like, okay, and watching that, none of that made a big deal to me. None of that made a big deal to me. I didn't really care. I was like, okay, this is fascinating. I like this. I've always thought that interracial couples don't get enough representation. And they did make, and a lot of the stuff that they did with Strange World wasn't an in-your-face kind of woke thing. And we're going to talk about that in a minute.
There, but it wasn't the main focus.
Wasn't the main focus. And I was like, okay, I like this. When something like that is done subtly, I like that. It's not an in-your-face thing. And for people to come out, and especially people at Disney, to come out and say, the reason this movie didn't do so well is because of all the conservatives and the right-wingers and the QAnon and all that. And I'm like, no, it had nothing to do with it. It had the fact that your marketing on this film sucked. Because
the homophobia. Well, I'm sure that would be a reason some wouldn't go see it.
I agree.
But I mean, the thing is, a lot of people on the right have already, disowned Disney for other things. So when you're already losing that and it still underperforms, you know that you're not even reaching your main audience.
You're not, and again,
I think going back to the homophobia, that's just a cheap cop out for a reason your movie failed.
Really, yeah, because, and again, your movies were good, but your marketing sucked, and so I think you need to go back to the drawing board and figure out, okay, we had a good idea here, we executed it pretty well, but nobody came to see it because nobody knew what our movie was about. So now let's fast forward to just, I think maybe about a week or so ago, and of course one of the things that was brought up during the earnings call is that Disney Plus lost 2.4 million subscribers. 2.4 million subscribers, okay? Which is something that actually happened about a year ago to Netflix. Netflix lost a giant chunk of their subscribership, and they had to pull back and figure out what it was. And what was the main reason why Netflix all of a sudden decided they were going to move forward? It was basically they decided they were going to stop doing a lot of the woke indoctrination programming that they were having put out there because it wasn't making them any money. You have, and then of course this week when Disney comes out with their earnings report saying, yeah, Disney Plus lost 2.4 million, I'm going to keep repeating this, 2.4 million subscribers. And one of their Disney Channel original shows that they've rebooted.
Oh, with the Proud family.
Louder and
Prouder.
Now has
Funny, there was a clip from the show that has been making the rounds online.
Yeah.
Or it was like something like the real history of slavery.
Yeah, the real history of America, where slaves built this country. This country was built by slaves, and and all the whole thing about slave, and we want our
reparations.
Our reparations, and we need to stop. We need to do white supremacy, and and it was like,
and it also raises the question of, who is this even for? The original Proud Family, that was a kid's cartoon. I remember watching it as a kid.
I remember,
but it's like this is for leftist adults. You're completely missing your target
audience. The Proud Family show, which again I remember watching it with you when it came out, and I was like, this is a really good show. This really shows a African American, middle class African American family working to make, and you had like 3 generations living in one house, and it was it looked like something that was like really, really nice, really cool. And then you come out with the Louder and Prouder, and you think, okay, this ought to be good. And then you come out with this woke stuff. There was even, I don't know if it was in the same episode or a different episode, where it said that Abraham Lincoln didn't end slavery.
I didn't see anything about that.
I saw something about that where they were talking about how Lincoln actually wanted to keep slaves, And I'm like, yeah, the dude that had the Emancipation Proclamation, who freed slaves and was championed, I think, the 14th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he actually wanted to keep slavery. And then you have all of this crap about slaves built this country, and how, you know, the one white girl that they have in there talks about her white supremacy, and it's like, you wonder why you're losing 2.4 million subscribers.
Because you're using kids' cartoons as a soapbox political medium,
Yeah.
I guess, where you're forcing your opinions down the throats of people who they just want to watch a cartoon. They don't want to be told, you're bad, you owe reparations.
Exactly. I think this is.
It's like, can I just watch Oscar be a goofball again?
Yeah.
Not get a political lecture about the descendants of slaves deserve reparations.
Yeah.
That's not why we're watching
That's
the
not
Proud
why we're
Family.
watching the Proud Family.
If we want to watch something like that, we go to, I don't know, something else.
Yeah, it's, you know, they totally, and I think we talked about this yesterday, where they totally miss their target audience with their, which is it's kids. It's kids, but they did a show that was entirely directed toward adults. And here's the thing, let me just make this perfectly clear to Disney, because Netflix had to figure this out, and that is that the programming for this stuff is a real minute, very small portion of society. The only reason people pay attention to them is because they yell the loudest. They make the most noise. And it doesn't give you a very good optics for this. It only shows people out there who are, what we like to say, true Disney fans. Look what they're trying to do. This isn't what we wanted. This isn't what Walt Disney would be rolling in his grave for this. So, I think truthfully, Bob Iger needs to go to the people running the original programming for Disney Plus and say, we need something that will draw people in, not
Drive people
people away. And even he might have to come to the tough decision of saying, look, no more of this woke,
No more
of this stuff, because
political garbage.
yeah, because
in the cartoons.
I watch Disney Plus for the movies, for a lot of the classic films. You know, I watch it to see a lot of the original Marvel programming. I know Loki 2 is about ready to come out. They just put Black Panther: Wakanda Forever on there. I'm excited to be able to see that this weekend. I love watching the Star Wars stuff, like the Bad Batch and Kenobi. And but, you know, I don't. And you know what's interesting is none of that programming has this kind of political stuff on it.
And that's why people like it.
That's why people like it. They love. I just watched a program. I watched a show about Gen X. That was done back, I think, in 2016. I'm like, oh, this is about Gen X. It's about my generation. And it was one from Nat Geo. I watched a really, really old, what is it? Walt Disney Presents World of Color, which talked about the seasons of Disneyland. I mean, super old programming. I mean, just really, really cool. You know, to see what it was like to be in Disneyland back in 1960 something. You know, 3 or something, which, you know, having these weird ass parades that they were putting on.
Yeah.
But, and I know this segment went a little long, but it's like, you know,
Disney needs to go back to, I don't know, its roots, I guess.
And
they need to fix the marketing problem. They need to market their movies better.
Yeah.
And that's because two movies in a row majorly flopping, as well as inserting political garbage into your cartoons, which is, you're not earning as much on movies, you're not earning as much on streaming. They need to stop for a second, take a look, and just make a change.
You're in the entertainment business. Let's just be totally honest. You're in the entertainment business. You need to entertain. The crazy part is, I think he went to the Disney entertainment and he says, oh, we need a hit. What are we going to get? We need a hit. And of course they announced what they announced. Toy Story 5,
All
Zootopia
sequels.
2, Inside Out 2, Frozen 3. What are they going to do for Frozen 3? I mean,
all I see is it's creative bankruptcy.
I mean, it just
Because first thing first, Toy Story 4 was great. It should not have been made. Toy Story 3 ended on a perfect note, and here they are coming out with Toy Story 5? It's pathetic.
I don't know how
It shows a complete lack of creativity, and that you're going to make sequel after sequel after sequel.
And let us just just really quickly run through this. You had Raya and the Last Dragon, a great film, a very original film, which was based on a lot of folklore from
East Asia cultures.
You had Meet the Robinsons, which was like which was something from a book.
It was a kid's book.
From a kid's book that did really well. I even liked Bolt. I thought Bolt was a cute little film.
But I mean, the thing is, I'm not completely against sequels, but when it's done with the specific purpose as a cash grab, because when it's done not to further the story as sequels should, it's just blatantly obvious this is just a cash grab, and it's, as I said, pathetic.
So we're hoping that, yes, run through your sequels if you want to, because we know, I mean,
they're going to be a guaranteed success.
Somebody said, Woody and Buzz sitting down at the table reading the phone book would like be an instant hit.
Yeah.
Because it would be. Because we love these characters. But you are a company that you take things, you bring us original content that we love, and we just want you to get back to we want you to entertain us again. I mean, the idea, again, of Strange World being something of like Journey Through the Center of the Earth, I'm like, that was a great idea. And that's exactly what I got out of it. It looked great, but you marketed it really poorly. You got to get back to becoming an entertainment company again and not a political company again, because you know exactly what happens when you try to do that. Anyway, we've gone really long on this segment. But again, when we come back, more stuff to talk about as far as Disney is concerned, and we'll see how that all comes out on the other side of this break. I am Goose.
I am Logan.
We are Travel by Nature. That being said, I'm Goose.
I am Logan.
This is Travel by Nature. Thank you for watching.
Tired, I am sore, and I just want to go to bed.
And you can do that after you take a shower.
I can take a shower in the morning.
No, you can take one now.
I don't even smell that bad.
Oh, really? You smell like a combination of body odor and butt crack, and I'm not sleeping next to that. Once in a while.
As tempting as all that sounds, I'd rather go to bed. bar. At least I'm here.
That's just it. Even when you're here, you're not. You're either too tired or too preoccupied.
Hey, we're back. I'm Goose.
I'm Logan.
This is On With the Show, and we've got some interesting new updates on one of our favorite topics,
Yep.
Splash Mountain. So, a couple of things are going on. First of all, let me bring this up because I need to be able to talk about this. Apparently, there's been something going on as far as we didn't think they would actually close Splash Mountain. We thought for sure.
We were for sure that this was going to be some ploy to gauge how popular the ride was. You know?
Yeah, but apparently they've decided, we're going to retheme Splash Mountain to Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
And they're going far into the now the Tiana's theming. Now they got the what is it? Tiana's Foods or something signs around Disney.
Apparently, but there's caused a lot of controversy with this, especially over at the Magic Kingdom, because there's a lot of signage around that apparently pointed to a very controversial retheming. It's become a rather controversial retheming. Apparently, from what it is being said, they are using the idea, in fact, they're even calling it the Avery Salt Mines from Louisiana, and apparently the Avery Salt Mines has a long history of slavery.
Interesting. So they're going to retheme the ride because it was based on a movie that supposedly glorified slavery to turn it into a ride based on slavery.
Yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Yeah. And there are a lot of people who are like, oh, no, this is different. Let me give you from what has been going on. The history of the Avery Island salt mine, which is basically what it is, dates back to when it was basically being, slaves basically worked in there, actual slaves. It was basically used for back in the Civil War, during the Civil War, where the Confederacy owned it, and they used it to help, season their food. Matter of fact, that's where we get Tabasco, of all things. And so, and it was in operation up until just about 2 or 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, until the roof caved in, killed 2 people.
Huh.
So this actual salt mine actually used slaves for labor, and there's a long history of it too. They're basically saying that we're going to be going through a ride, a cartoonized and gentrified version of slave salt mines that Tiana now supposedly owns, because she is not only owns a restaurant, she's taking on Tabasco with her vast real estate holdings. So she owns the salt mine.
Interesting.
Oh my God! I mean,
what article is this?
This is from thatparkplace.com. Tiana's Bayou Adventure offends on day one. Direct reference to historic slaves. I mean, and apparently no one at the park is saying boo about it. This is all coming out from people who want to save Splash Mountain, who are like, this is really bad.
This is an odd choice to retheme.
And here's the interesting thing: is like the people who are retheming it are basically saying that they went to Louisiana and they wanted to use actual Louisiana history for this retheme, and they were all excited.
Chose that
and
part of Louisiana history.
Yeah.
Not anything to do with New Orleans jazz. No, we went to slave salt mines.
Yep.
That's the history we want to celebrate.
That's the history we want to celebrate. The story they want to be able to say, and this is and again, it's just, I don't know where they came up with this idea. I would have thought this was really bad from the beginning. But the idea is that Tiana now owns the mine, and she goes down there to get her special seasonings that she now puts in her restaurant. Which, by the way, the French Market restaurant in Disneyland is not going to be Tiana's Palace.
Which is a change I can get behind.
I can get behind that
Because we actually ate at the French Market, and I think that would absolutely fit perfectly.
Yeah, I think so
Only
too.
thing I want them to change, please, dear God, fix the lighting.
Oh yeah,
We had to use flashlights to see our food.
But apparently, I mean, the storyline for Tiana's Bayou is based around the Avery Island slavery-driven salt mine. Yeah, but she now owns the mine where she now gets her new flavors and her new stuff. Which, honest to God, I mean, this puts in a really bad perspective because
So does Tiana now own slaves?
that's exactly what I was thinking. Does Tiana now own slaves? I mean,
I'm confused.
And let me tell you something. We didn't get this information from Wikipedia. We got this. We're getting this from other sites. And basically, you go through the history of the salt mine and find out many hundreds of men were at work, and at times as many as 500 wagons loaded with the product left island in a day. Some of these ox-drawn wagons made long trips into Texas northward, while ideal salt was hauled to the I can't even pronounce that river. Thence shipped to Vicksburg by boat and distributed by rail.
Even if it's not Tiana, like owning slaves herself, it's still weird to decide to theme it around a place that was run or used slaves.
Union General Banks drove the Confederates out and destroyed the salt works. A brigade was sent down for that purpose, but after they left, repairs were instituted and the work went on. Apparently this is the Marsh House slave quarters. The Marsh House slave quarters site includes 2 small standing rock cabins structures. They actually had slave quarters there.
This is
How did you miss this? How could you have missed this? This is appalling. I mean, you destroyed a ride because you said it was based on slavery, only to build a ride based on slavery, actual slavery. This is ridiculous.
So I guess what they gotta do now is either I can't. With all this coming out, I can't see them continuing with the storyline. They gotta completely rework it, or else it's just gonna lead to further controversy. Even more than Splash Mountain was already controversial, even though it was only controversial for a tiny, tiny minority.
Yeah.
Once this gets out, it's gonna be like a giant mess.
Yeah, it was, by 1940, the plantation was known as Marsh Avery Plantation, and by the time of the Civil War, was known as just Avery Plantation. The 1860 slave schedule lists 100 enslaved persons living on Avery Island during that year. The plantation continued after the war as Avery Plantation until 1908. For some reason, I'm gone dyslexic today. When it became the Avery Planting and Improvement Company. So, I'm sorry. I don't understand. I mean, was it your understanding, the idea that you could just slip this by everybody and say, well, because Tiana now has the ride, it's okay? It just basically just upsets me. It just upsets me. We've gone from zippity doodah and African folklore and Brer creatures in Georgia to a straight up story about Louisiana plantations and salt mines harvested by real slaves from real history. It's a heck of an improvement. And again, will be cartoonized and Disney-fied. It's a happy salt mine after all.
Which is ironic because they said that's the reason Song of the South was so criticized,
Yeah.
because it supposedly had happy slaves, and now here we are getting happy slaves.
Happy slaves. Oh. Anyway, I don't know how they could, and and basically they said that because they've gone so far into the retheme that they're just going to they're just going to continue it.
I can't believe, and this is in the middle of all their, we're losing money out our ass every single day, and here we're going to go with the worst retheme
Of history.
in history, which is going to lead to, guess what? Losing more money.
You're losing more money, yeah.
And then it's going to be Disney releases 7,000 more employees because the Splash Mountain retheme has gone disastrously.
And here's the thing, and I will talk about this on the other side of the break because there's more Splash Mountain news that's going on. Because the questions have now arisen of, well, they've started the retheme of the Magic Kingdom Splash Mountain.
But why hasn't it started at
It's
Disneyland?
Why is the one at Disneyland still going? And so there's some interesting news, and there's one really interesting rumor going on there at Disneyland that involves, interestingly enough, the head of Disney Parks, Josh Tomorrow.
Interesting.
So we will let you chew on this, and we will get back to you on the other side of this break.
Hey, Desmond. How's it going, man? Hey, sorry I missed the funeral. I couldn't miss work.
That's all right. I need your help with something.
So what's with the trunk?
Ooh!
I can't believe she gave you the house. I did everything for her. Cooked, cleaned.
And robbed her blind.
I only took what I deserved. She owed it to me.
So why did you call me? I need your help to get rid of it. What makes you think I can help?
My grandma was a wonderful person. She used to always tell me, Ellen, all you have is your name, so make it a good one.
What is that?
What does it look like?
I don't know. I've never seen it before.
Well, maybe we could burn it. No, and then the fire department will be here in minutes.
I don't know what all the fuss is about. That woman wasn't that pure.
Remember what she told us, Gary. All you have is your name.
Hey, we're back. I'm Goose.
I'm Logan.
This is On With the Show, and if you just saw our last segment, we talked about the disastrous
Retheme of Splash Mountain to the Avery Salt Mine.
Yeah, there was some people are calling it Tiana's Slave Mine Adventure.
Yeah.
Tiana's Slave Mine Adventure. Yeah, that's anyway, But it's interesting because again, one of the questions has been, okay, now they're retheming the one
In Magic Kingdom, why haven't they started work at Disneyland?
And I think, for one, again, I've heard a twofold answer. And again, I saw a great video from my good friend Chris Provost from Provost Park Pass, who basically, took this question on. Why have they not started the retheme over at Disneyland? And basically he talked with someone on the inside over at Disneyland, and they said, well, the big reason is they have a lot of closures already in progress. Tarzan's Treehouse is still closed.
Are they just refurbishing it? Or
They're refurbishing it.
Okay.
But it's taken a long time to refurbish. That thing's been closed for at least a couple of years, which I thought it's a tree house. Well, how much
longer are you going to take?
How much longer is it going to be? But they currently also have they now have Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Forbidden Eye closed. That's closed down for major refurbishment. They basically, there's a lot of things that's been kind of neglected. They said the snake wasn't even moving.
Really?
So it's down for major refurbishment. They have Haunted Mansion closed because they're still cleaning up the mess from the Christmas. They haven't rethemed it back from the Christmas.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, why is it taking so long?
February. And they still got the Halloween decorations up?
Yeah, which is interesting. And then they still have Toontown. Even though Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is open, Toontown's still closed.
Okay.
So
did they just have a little pathway to the right, or
I don't know.
or what?
But apparently, one of the things that's being said is that if you go into the park and you go left, like to Adventureland, or that the only thing they basically have open, they have Jungle Cruise. If they have Jungle Cruise, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Splash Mountain, and Winnie the Pooh. Basically, that's it. That's all they got.
Really?
That's all they got.
It's
open.
almost like how they had it. What was it? At Epcot, where it was like lots and lots of walls.
Yeah.
It's like I remember the last time we went to
Walcott.
The last time we went to Disneyland back in August. So much construction walls up. It was almost comical.
It was pretty interesting, but they're waiting. The rumor is they're waiting for some of these attractions to reopen because I
just don't want too many rides closed at the same time, because then it's going to be like, I paid $100 and God knows how many ticket prices are now. It's like, I paid such and such amount to be here, and I only get to ride one ride.
Yeah, there's nothing over here to ride. And not only that, but there would be almost no reason to go all the way. I mean, to go all the way to ride Winnie the Pooh. I mean, again, nothing wrong with Winnie the Pooh. We love the ride. And you got your Hungry Bear.
That's a ride you hit when you're in that area.
Yeah, that's a ride you hit when you're in that. Your Hungry Bear. It's like you eat the Hungry Bear. What are we going to do? Ride Winnie the Pooh. Let our food settle. But they basically have said there's nothing over there, so they need Splash Mountain to stay open so that guests can kind of funnel over in that direction and still ride it, which I get. It's like a lot of people I think are now like they're trying to hit the ride before it closes for refurbishment. So that's one story. However, in going through Twitter and seeing a lot of the Disneyverse. That are like, we need to still try to save Splash Mountain. We still need to try to save Splash Mountain, and one of them came up. They have, and I think I'm trying to remember which one it was, because apparently it was somebody that's like higher up and gets the news and the rumors going through, and apparently the head of Disneyland Resort, Ken Potrick. Has been lobbying to keep Splash Mountain.
Really?
Yes. He's been lobbying to keep Splash Mountain. As a matter of fact, he has about half the board on his side. He even had Bob Chapek kind of listening to him and thinking, maybe this is, maybe it's good if we keep Splash Mountain. But of course, Chapek was fired. And Bob Iger came back, and Iger's like, no, I want to do this. We're going to retheme it. We're going to march on ahead, like, you know. And so Potrock has half the board. Iger has half the board.
So they're completely split.
You know, and so
retheming.
what everybody's waiting on is for Josh tomorrow to make a decision.
Or is he going to be like the tiebreaker?
He's like, I don't know. Maybe. Well, remember, Bob Iger came out shortly. You know, he had that big old town hall, and they asked him about the parks. He goes, "Well, I'm going to leave a lot of that up to Josh tomorrow."
So we just got to wait. It's like, what does tomorrow have to say about this?
And so for right now, Josh tomorrow is basically like Switzerland. He's like,
pretty much.
He's like, I'm staying neutral. Because I think what it is that Josh tomorrow, and again, it's been rumored when a lot of this was going on that Iger wanted to fire Potrock, but he couldn't because Potrock had half the board.
So he wanted to fire him because he didn't want to do the
retheme. Yeah, that's kind of what it's leaning towards.
Interesting.
And I think basically also because he was part of the Chapek crew that was there, and Iger's cleaning house of a lot of the Chapek people that are there. That's just what I'm thinking. Just what I'm hearing, and so and so tomorrow they're waiting on tomorrow to make a decision. Because I guess they feel that whichever way he goes, the board will go with him. Now again, this is all rumor. This is all rumor that's coming out of the Disney executives' boardrooms. How much of it is true, I don't know. I find it interesting. I find it
that it's completely split down the middle and all left to the decision of one man.
Yeah. And tomorrow's in a very bad spot because if he goes against Iger, Iger could I'm the CEO. I mean, you're gone. Goodbye. So tomorrow doesn't want to lose his job.
Piss off the CEO.
Doesn't want to piss off the CEO and lose his job. At the same time, Iger
piss off half the board.
And at the same time, Iger has come out and said that, well, I'm going to trust Josh tomorrow to do what's right for the parks. So this looks really interesting. And I'm just kind of wondering, and I know that some people, because I've heard some people come out and say, oh no, they're going to close Splash Mountain in mid to late April, maybe early May to start the refurb or the retheme. And I'm kind of like looking at this going, I don't know. I think that after, and again, one of the things that Ken Potrock looked at, and I think one of the same things that Josh D'Amaro looked at was when Splash Mountain closed in Magic Kingdom, all of the upset people that were there that it was closing and are kind of like, maybe this isn't such a good idea after all. And now that we've seen what the retheme is going to look like for, as we just talked about.
At least in Magic Kingdom, they're probably like, maybe we should hold off
Maybe we should hold off on this because I'm kind of thinking that maybe Josh tomorrow is like, you know what? Let's look and see how this goes in Magic Kingdom.
In Magic Kingdom before we decide to also close the one in California.
Because if we do them both now, we may
even lose more money than if we just closed one.
This may not be good optics. They also wanted, somebody brought up, what about the one in Japan? First of all, the one in Japan is not being touched at all because 51% of that theme park is owned by the government of Japan. And the people of Japan love Splash Mountain. They love it. They don't, they think it's like, one of the best rides ever. And I've been told that the one in Japan actually is probably the best of the three. But I'm going to go back to this. I find it interesting. I find it very interesting that this is kind of going on within the Disney universe behind the scenes, and that we, you know, we might be able. I think tomorrow is going to hold back. I think at the very least they might split the baby. They might say, "Let's
Say
do."
we're gonna have original Splash Mountain in Disneyland, and then Avery Salt Mine Splash Mountain in Florida.
In Florida, and see what happens. I think after what happened at the Magic Kingdom with all the fans kind of like
I don't know, like having a little mini protest of sorts.
Yeah.
They're probably like, yeah, we're gonna try to avoid that happening at Disneyland.
And again, you know, you gotta with the earnings call you gave just a few days ago.
Losing what was it? 2.4 million?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be best to make decisions that won't lose you money.
Yeah, and here's the thing, you know, and not only that, what's the interesting part about that is that, you know, people that are for the Safe Splash Mountain crew have like looked at this earnings call and say, well, you know, if you lost money, if you want to be able to make that money back, I think
you should keep
Splash Mountain the way it is and stop this retheme.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that would mean that they would have to, you know, kind of
admit they're wrong. God knows they don't want to do that.
No, yeah. So I, you know, this ought to be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out, and seeing what will all become of it. In the meantime, I think I'm just going to kind of sit back and watch,
and wait and see what they do.
Wait and see what they do. We're scheduled to be going to Disneyland in late March. And so I'm looking at this as maybe being possibly the last time we ride that ride.
Yeah.
But, I mean, who knows? Things might change and it might be there for your kids to ride. Who knows? We'll see.
Just have to wait and see what happens.
We'll see what happens. But until then, keep up the good work, all you Safe Splashers out there, and maybe we'll actually get someone at Disney to actually listen to us, and we'll go from there. But like I said, I keep repeating myself. This ought to be interesting.
Yep.
All right, so this will be the end of our show for today. Again, this is all things
Disney.
All things going on crazy with Disney. And hopefully we'll be able to talk more about some stuff on our next episode about, we'll update you on what's going on with Alec Baldwin and Russ, because there are a lot of crazy things going on there too. Logan, if they want to check us out anywhere else, where do they go?
If you want to find all the links to our social medias, you can find them at withkoji.com/@travelbynature. They can find the link to our other YouTube channel, Travel by Nature, as well as our Instagram pages, our TikTok, our Twitters, and we also have an Ask Me Anything tab and a tip jar, if you're so generous.
Yeah, check out some of the other channels that we produce. Wrestling Boys, Miss Cindy's Kitchen, and as he said, Travel by Nature. We're having a lot of fun putting all this programming together for you, and doing our best every week to come up with new topics, because there's very rarely is there a shortage of topics for us to talk about. If they want to help out the channel, what would they do?
You can hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share to your friends.
Share it out to your friends. Leave us a comment. Makes us smile. Any comment you make, we definitely look at it. Possibly we might even talk about it
on our show.
Talk about it for maybe bring up a topic for future comments. A lot of times it brings a smile to our face knowing that you go listening to our pretty faces. With that being said, I'm Goose.
I'm Logan.
This is On With The Show. Thank you for watching. We will be back next week.
Overture, curtain lights, this is it, the night of nights. No more rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every card by heart. Overture, curtain lights, this is it. We'll hit the heights, and oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it.